Hey, what's up guys? I'm back and today I wanted to share a little personal story that I went through last summer as a logistics clerk. To give you guys a brief intro on what was going on, I worked at a movie theater for about 2.5 years, and after those 2.5 years I was really sick of it and I decided it was time for something different. I was sick of smelling like butter, I was sick of cleaning up popcorn and trash from theaters, and I felt like I was getting nowhere in that job, and with other things like not being promoted or doing things that I wanted, and also seeing a lot of people that I liked as coworkers leave and do something else, I really felt it was time for me to leave as well. So I applied to many places on Indeed, and I finally got a job at a logistics company. But I had some experience, and they saw that I had that as my experience, and they said, "Oh, we want to bring you on." So I thought, okay, I'm totally open for it. So I say I can start next week, and we decide we're going to start off on Tuesday, I believe, because the Monday was a holiday. So I started on Tuesday, and I'm not going to lie, I was really excited. I was really excited to start a job where, I could go dressed nicely with slacks and a dress shirt. One, I was excited to be in a job where I had my own desk, my own computer, my own cubicle, and I didn't really have to do any labor. It was more like just sitting down and doing my own thing. And I thought, this is it. Like, this is awesome. I'm gonna go in. It's gonna feel like a real life job, you know. And eventually, the first day comes, and I get there, and I'm not really, I don't really know what to expect. In all honesty, I just kind of get there, and I ask, oh, what can I do? And basically, the first thing I do is staple papers together, and fold things and kind of put them in their shelves. And it wasn't really exciting, but I thought, I'm fairly new, so I got to start somewhere. So I did that, and then the rest of the day was kind of me, in a way, training, kind of, but not really. Like, they kind of told me, familiarize yourself with the emails, the computer, your desk, and that only took like about 10 minutes or less. And then later I was kind of just stuck looking at a computer screen or my phone, waiting what else was going to happen. So the first day was really boring, and honestly, as the day went on, I was getting more and more bored, and then I looked around me and I didn't really find anything that I was passionate about. Like, I saw the other people working there, and it didn't look like a fun environment at all. The company was based out of China, so a lot of the people there smoked Mandarin, and none of them were kind of like my age, and it didn't feel like a company that I really wanted to be a part of. And I could tell that on the first day. Like, I remember like clocking out and going home, and just on the drive home thinking like, man, that really wasn't a good first day. Like, I didn't really like what I saw, and I really didn't like what I did. But honestly, I thought, it's pays more than my old job, and it's only for the summer, so I thought, why not? And it was just funny because I went from being excited, like I took a picture of my cubicle and I posted it online on my social media, and I said, oh, look, I have my own cubicle and this is great. And then by the end of the day, I honestly didn't even really want that job. Like, I was kidding myself a little bit, and I thought, you know what, I can handle it. I can do this and whatnot. But it honestly hit me as the weeks went by that I didn't want to do it, and I couldn't do it, and it wasn't really working out. And I have some instances where I just knew it wasn't going to work out. So one of the things that really bothered me about this company was, it's a Chinese-based company, so some of the people that work there were brought in from China, so they can speak Mandarin amongst themselves. And that's kind of a problem for me, especially because some of us who work there don't speak Mandarin, and they would kind of like talk in the offices or near their desk, like they're in their own language, and we would hear it, and obviously we didn't know what was going on. So you didn't know whether you were getting blamed, you were getting made fun of, or something was going wrong and your name came up, because you would hear them talking and then you would hear your name in the sentence. So it kind of felt like, okay, what are they talking about? What are they saying about me? So that also didn't really sit well with me. I thought, that's not really cool. Like, I don't think you should do that. Like, speak languages other people don't know, because obviously we're not going to know what you're going to say. So that really hurt. And one time in particular, I remember I got a call from my counselor because I was not sure on whether or not I could get this class to graduate the next semester. And I had to go into the break room to take the call. And I took it, and he told me, oh, I can get you the class. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And it lasted for like a minute or two. And then I go back to my desk, and then I see the girl next to me who's Chinese. She basically tells, in a way, he's kind of like an upper employee who has a little bit of power over us, but he's not a manager. she like I can see her pointing at me and doing like this and speaking in their own language, and then he kind of like just does this like that, like, oh, it's no big deal. So and then I could see like, I just got told on, and I was like, for what? Just speaking on the phone and for like a minute or two, and honestly didn't care. I think at that point I was already obviously not liking the job, and just nothing about it really like spoke to me. I hated everything about it, honestly. Like even sitting down, I thought that would be better, like, not being able to move around, but honestly sitting down was honestly kind of boring, and staring at a computer for 8 hours, constantly, and just doing the same thing over and over again, and having so much liability for something that you didn't do, which was another part of the job that I didn't like. There was a lot of liability in this job. You basically could get blamed for something if you didn't have proof that you did it or that you didn't do something. It was your word against someone else who spoke Chinese, so they could honestly throw you under the bus if things don't go wrong, which happened to some other coworkers there, and they've told me that, they've gotten told on. There was a manager, and I'll leave his name out of it, but basically he's a real messy guy. His office is really messy. He's kind of old too, and he was telling me, hey, do you have the paperwork for this? And I said, oh, yeah, I gave it to you. He was looking for some paperwork, right? And he couldn't find it because his desk was basically, a mess. There's papers everywhere. And then he came to me and said, oh, did you lose it? Did you never give it to me? Like, you got to check through your folders, your files, and your cabinets to see where it's at, because I can't find it. And in my head, I do remember, I was like, didn't I give that to you? I didn't tell him that, but I thought it in my head. But anyway, I looked around, and basically I didn't find it in my desk, and he couldn't find it in his office. And then he came back and was blaming me for something that I lost or never had. And then I thought, this can't be right. So later in the day, I go into his office and check for myself in a pile of papers if that packet was there, and it was the one that he needed. And then he basically, I tell him, hey, I found the packet of papers that you need. And he's like, oh, where was it? And I said, oh, it was in your office. And then he completely like got mad and was like, you were in my office? You don't go in my office. You don't do that, okay? That's my office. You don't have permission to go through my things. And in my head, I thought, I can see where you're coming from, but I was getting blamed for something that you misplaced, and I didn't want to get blamed for it even more because you're a messy guy. And then I remember when I got that, I thought, you know what, that kind of sucks. Like, who wants to work in an environment where you're getting blamed for things that it's not even your fault? I lasted at this place for about 2 months, and I thought to myself, you know what, as soon as school starts, I'm gonna leave, and it's not gonna work out because it was an 8 to 4 job, and I had school during the mornings and the day, so obviously I couldn't stay. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the best at the job. Like, sometimes I would forget things, I wouldn't do the paperwork correctly, and it kind of just felt like it wasn't working out because if I didn't like the job anyway, so sometimes I wouldn't, not that I wouldn't care, but I guess I didn't put my all into it sometimes, and I would mess up with the paperwork and things. But honestly, like, a lot of people mess up in that job. Like, people kept telling me, like, don't worry, like, I've messed up, he's messed up. And it is a job with a lot of liability because you're basically caring for something that is going to go across the country, and you need to be correct on what you write on the logistics papers. So it's, it's a lot of, it can be a bit stressful, and there's a lot of liability with this job. And one other thing that I really didn't like, which is one of the final things I didn't really like before I didn't leave, I'll get to that later, but one of the final things that I didn't really like was the fact that there was a bit of drama and kind of yelling between coworkers. Like, a lot, since I did say there was a lot of liability between the people who worked there and upper management, there was some times like where there would be yelling where they would say, you don't talk to me that way, or people would get blamed for things, and other people would basically yell at each other for not doing the specific work. And you look at that from your cubicle and you're just like, you hope it's not going to be you later who gets yelled at, because you don't want to deal with that. No one wants to deal with that. And I remember one time this girl, she sat on the opposite side of the cubicle from me, and she like struggled with her weight, and she was like on a diet plan. But basically, one day she was leaving because she was off. She clocked out and she was leaving, and she said bye to everyone. And then I hear the girl next to me who said something in Mandarin to the guy across the room, and they started laughing, and they both had this look, like it was shocked, but like he was shocked that she said that, but it was still kind of like a fucked up kind of funny, you know? And then I saw that and I was like, wow, like you guys could easily just talk crap about anyone without us knowing it, you know? And God, like I really just didn't like that, and I hated the work. I hated just going. As more time passed, I hated going there. Like I remember on Mondays, when it was Sunday, I would actually hate Sundays because it only meant that I would have to go back on Monday, and you know the drive there was terrible because I was like, I don't want to do work. Sometimes just doing the work was really boring and sometimes stressful, and I just did not like the job at all. And so it was like a combination of things, just not being treated with respect, having people talk crap behind your back, and just having some, you know, the liability with this job was too much. So eventually around the 2-month mark, I get called into the office of the general manager, and he tells me, oh, how do you like the job? Do you think, can you see yourself working here for more time? And I kind of just, in all honesty, I didn't want to stay there, but I just lied to him and said, yeah, I think I'm getting the hang of this job and it'd be cool to stay here, and I'm happy to help and blah, 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 you know? And then he says, oh, okay, well, basically I want to talk to you about, you know, closing this chapter, you know, of your time here. So, and he basically let me go, and I was kind of surprised that I got let go, because in my head I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to quit anyway in about 2 to 3 weeks. But to be let go, and he was just telling me like how, you know, I'm a really nice guy, you know, saying all the right things. You know, like I'm a nice guy, but I didn't see enough passion from you, enough grit, enough, you know, emotion sometimes when it came to this job, and that's kind of what I wanted from you. Like, you're a very shy person, you're a very timid person, and it just felt like you around here didn't fit with the company culture, with the style, the fast pace. And in my head I thought, yeah, you're right. I honestly don't really fit in here. I don't like the job, I dislike it, I don't like the work, I don't feel good here. And I didn't tell him this, but when he was saying all this, I was like, yeah, that's true, I don't like it here, in my mind, you know. So eventually he gives me my last check. He tells me he hopes I do good in life and, you know, go out there and kick some ass. And I thought, you know, that was nice, I guess. But honestly, like when he gave me that check and I walked out the door and I looked outside, I was like, man, it felt like I was free from prison in a way. Like I felt so free. Like I was like, wow, I don't get to come here tomorrow, you know, I don't get to come here ever again. And I was actually kind of glad, you know. It wasn't cool getting, you know, fired, but it felt good, like not going back to a company that you hated, because obviously that place really made me really like sad to be there, and it made me like just bummed out a lot of the time just being there and kind of thinking about going back there and working there for 8 hours straight. And yeah, I knew it was time to leave. I'm glad I did. And that kind of, in a way, that didn't really ruin the experience of a typical 9 to 5, 8 to 4 job for me, but it did kind of like make me think, do I really want to work for someone? Do I really want to like do anything for anyone? Like, do I want to take my own breaks, or do I need to take the breaks when someone else tells me? Do I want to do things other people's way? Do I want to do things my way? So this kind of experience was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because it did kind of like let me know what I don't want in life and what I want in a job. And it was a bit of a good experience and a bad experience, because, you know, the bad was that I had to deal with all that crap with the drama and the yelling and being accused of things that I didn't do. And then the good was getting a little bit of experience, like from sales, and just kind of being put in a place where you're uncomfortable with, you know, just to see how you react. And, you know, just kind of making some money over the summer, which was good, you know. And then I got to see what I don't like in a company, what I never want to have in a company, the culture, the type of job it was. That's something that I got out of this job as well. That's something that I would never want to do. All right, thank you guys again for listening to my story time. I hope you guys found it somewhat interesting. You guys, I'm sure, can probably relate to any jobs that you had that you hated or made you sad to even go in, or had terrible stories to go. If either you guys can't quit because of whatever priorities or commitments you have outside that you need to keep, that eventually you find something that actually makes you happy and you can find some solace in it, and find some passion in whatever you do. Thank you guys again, and I will see you guys next time. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys. I'm Ozzy and I'm out. See ya.